could we Good evening. So we are here in a perfect fall setting to celebrate Penny Glassmeyer, is not 100% excited about this proposal, but she's going to go along with it and see how it works out. I think she likes the flag the most. So just a couple words on Penny's experience as a builder. She started out in multifamily, and in order to improve each apartment in a multifamily, you had to move somebody out of an apartment to improve it. So Penny was explaining to me how she rotated people between different units while she upgraded them, stripped them, painted them, and then moved a new group in and another group out. So it seems pretty primitive, but it seemed to work out. The big breakthrough came when Nancy Winship and Penny were at a Darien football game, and she suggested that Penny move her locus of attention and capability to Darien from Norwalk and do residential. But residential homes would be expensive to buy, so they talked about teardowns. So they would work to find somebody who was selling a teardown and make them an offer they couldn't refuse, tear it down, and rebuild it. And that was called scraping by the New York Times, who actually wrote a nice article about doing these teardowns and scraping them and then putting a new house on. It was like 20 years ago. So this is something that people were doing then. And what happened is that Nancy, who came into my house yesterday, unannounced, unexpected, to proclaim that she was the person who told Penny how to play this game, okay? And not only did she come up with the idea, she came up with the first customer. So she not only came up with the idea, but she introduced Penny to a gentleman who had a teardown he wanted to sell, and they closed the deal. And that became the O'Connor house, the first house that Penny built. And we in the financial world talk about proof points. We want a company that's met some test of the marketplace. So Penny finally had a proof point when she was able to get Nancy Winship to give her this idea, but she executed against it, and here we are. So I wanted just to say it's a privilege for me to be here. I wasn't really part of the program, but there's nobody else who would do this, so I offered to do it. So I want to introduce Dave Genovese. He's been a longstanding family friend, but more recently has invited Penny to partner with him in some of his most interesting projects, particularly the Corbin District right now. So Penny has some exciting things ahead of you because of Dave's interest in working with you as a partner. So Dave, thank you.
You know, the truth is, though, Mr. G, that there were many people that would have been the MC, but we thought Mrs. G was less likely to get mad at us for doing this if you were the master of ceremonies. So good afternoon. We're here today to celebrate the amazing work over the course of literally several decades of an incredible woman and Darien resident, Penny Glassmeyer. I think that we would all agree that the true signs of a great leader are, one, the quality of the team that she surrounds herself with, two, the tenure of that team, and three, the quality of the output arising from the team's effort. Great leaders also bring out the best in each of us, and creating an environment in which good is not good enough and great is the only acceptable delivery condition. Penny stands out as a great leader in our community, and as we begin construction of our downtown project next week, it seemed totally appropriate to pause for just a moment to acknowledge and thank the person who has played such a key role in shepherding us to where we are today. As many of you know, Penny likes short meetings that start on time, and she gets to the point very quickly. So while I had every intention of telling a short story about Penny and her work in Darien, the reality of it is there's a little too much to the story to tell in 5 minutes or less, so I'm going to have to apologize in advance. As I reflected on my thoughts of Penny and her history in Darien, and I began to write them down, I could not believe the number of people who came to my mind as key participants in or others who've been impacted by Penny's work. On this note, too, I have to give a quick shout out to Charlie Savarine, who's 92 years old. He's here with us today, and he worked for the town of Darien for 33 years, doing inspections on all of Penny's projects. Charlie's one of the legends of Darien. And I want to apologize to people whom I don't mention, because in doing this work, Penny has really engaged a veritable army. And if I mentioned everyone, we would be here until brunch tomorrow at 10:20 post. You know who you are, you know what contributions you've made, and I hope that my comments stimulate for you a happy memory of some of those special moments that you were a part of in the course of these efforts. For those of you who don't know me, my name is David Genovese. I've been a friend of the Glassmeyers since about 1973, when I met Ward at Tokenique School. In those early days, Brad Elders, Mike Widmer, Bob Valandra, Tim Sewell, Trev Spain, and a few others used to spend a lot of time at the Glassmeyers' home, playing street hockey in the driveway and just hanging around. Thankfully, we didn't have iPhones loaded with TikTok. We didn't know what Fortnite was, and I don't even think that Atari had been invented. And you wouldn't believe this if you weren't there, but it was during that time in the 1970s that I actually started to work with Penny Glassmeyer. She was not afraid of child labor. You see, Mrs. G taught all of us about the importance of hard work, and she always led by example. In those days, she always was doing work around the house, and she had projects to do, leaves to rake, logs to move, and if we wanted a pop shop soda, Birch beer was my favorite. We had to pitch in and help with the chores. Important to note, however, though, was that Mrs. G was always there in the mix doing the work with us. When people ask when I started to work with Penny, I often say around 2007, but the truth is that this whole thing started a lot longer ago than that. Ward and I graduated from DHS in '85. We went on to college, and then a group of us moved back to Stanford. I went into investment banking. He went into sports. I came back after September 11th. I made the decision to leave investment banking and to start a real estate company with my dad, who had recently sold his company and was semi-retired. Julie and I moved back to Darien in 2002, around the same time as Ward and Carol. And Mrs. G was building Grove Street Plaza at around the same time. And I'm going to wind the clock back for just a second. In 1990s, Ray Nurmi, who was Darien's planning and zoning director, suggested to Penny that she focus upon buying a few properties in downtown Darien in what was a very, very rundown area with decrepit older houses and an auto body repair shop in the midst of it. It's hard to believe that that area is this area in which we're standing today, in the midst of these beautiful buildings. Penny had been building some of the most beautiful homes in Darien and in Sun Valley, and while I was not there at the time, my sense from everything I heard from Jeremy Ginsburg and others is that Ray wanted someone he could trust to take on this important project, which could redefine Darien and downtown Darien. Always want to take on a challenge, Penny dove in feet first and began negotiating with the property owners and designing the buildings with Do Chung. But when she went to the Planning and Zoning Commission to present her plans, much to her surprise, she was met with a fair amount of resistance and criticism for her proposal. Never one to give up, Penny worked for nearly 3 years with the commission to get this project approved. Thanks to Fred Conzi, Joe Spain, Jeremy Ginsburg, Bob Maslin, and others, it was ultimately accepted by the town and construction began. So here we sit or stand today in Penny's first project in Darien, first commercial project in Darien. And the significance of this place cannot really be understated, because it was through this project that 3 important things happened. First, Penny set the bar for Darien in terms of working with great architects and great people, the plumbers, the electricians, the masons, to develop high-quality designs and then to use the highest quality finishes, higher than any other commercial developer in the region had done before her. The windows on these buildings are from Europe. The designs by Do Chung and Bob Cardello are beautiful and include greater detail than you would normally see in a commercial building in the suburbs. The Bevelot gas lanterns are handmade in New Orleans, a fixture no one had ever seen before in a commercial building in Connecticut. They're gas-fired boilers that heat the ground and melt the snow around the buildings in the winter. They're flower boxes that are impeccably maintained. Penny does not overlook any detail. And working with Hobie Baker on this project, her right-hand man, Penny worked to create a landmark for our town with a beautiful public plaza for the community to enjoy. I think that they worked and reworked the fountain here twice until Penny felt that she had it right. And what a wonderful addition to this place it has been. Second, from this place and others built by Penny, several people have been given the opportunity to pursue their dreams. There was a local couple who wanted to open a children's clothing store, Birdie's in the Nest in Grove Street Plaza. James Layfield and his dad wanted to open the first melting pot restaurant in Connecticut, which has been here since 2002. About 11 years ago, Rachel Howie and Lori Kirchen wanted to create their own take on a Brooklyn-style coffee shop. I introduced them to Mrs. G, and out of that meeting came Espresso Neat, now run by Eric Emmel and his team. And it's become a social hub of the downtown. A little over 2 years ago, when Rob Van Kuren decided it was time to open his own bakery, Terry Wood introduced him to Penny, who quickly got behind him and helped him to create Flour, Water, Salt Bakery, which has become one of the most talked about and admired businesses in Darien and Fairfield County. Third, many like me followed Penny's lead in getting involved in improving our downtown, but Penny was the pioneer. After Penny got going on Grove Street Plaza, Arthur Collins and Tom Golden decided that the time was right to invest in downtown Darien, and they acquired the Darien Playhouse building, which at the time was vacant and dilapidated. And we forget this, years later. It's easy to forget what the state of things was. Art and Tom saw what Penny was doing, and having grown up in Darien, they too were disappointed in the appearance of downtown. So they followed Penny's lead, and that property has been substantially improved. The Dalsetti family renovated their building and helped create the new building where Brooks Brothers operated until recently, and Reese Hutchinson and his family worked with the Darien Rowayton Bank to create another beautiful building with David Harvey Jewelers, the bank and offices above. Which brings me to us, my partnership with Penny. In 2003, my company acquired half of a site on the Boston Post Road that was vacant for 40 years, across from the Sugar Bowl. It was environmentally contaminated by the dry cleaner next door, and after the Wonder Bar restaurant burned down in the 1960s, maybe Charlie remembers the Wonder Bar restaurant. Most people else probably. Did you spend time there? We can talk about that later. Burned down in the 1960s, and no one could figure out how to remediate the problem or solve the zoning challenges that the site had. We studied it, and working with Jeremy and Dave Keating and others, we found a way to get approvals to build 1020 Post Road, and we started construction in 2007. So you can imagine, here we are now building this building. It's my first project in Darien, working with my dad and our team. And as we're building the project, Penny and Hobie would stop by all the time. And Penny would tap on my shoulder and ask me about this and that, and how are you going to finish this? What are you going to do here? And they offered great suggestions. The brick on that building is handmade and hand-stripped the way they made brick 100 years ago. And the light fixtures are, yes, you guessed it, by Bevelow. Penny's and Hobie's fingerprints are all over that building, even though we were not technically partners in building it. But while we were building 1020, something else interesting happened. Beginning in 2003, I'd been speaking with Holly and David Hawes about some buildings owned by a partnership which included 10 Corbin Drive and the post office. In around 2007, while we were in construction on 1020, David Hawes called me and said that Dr. Felder and Steve Zangrillo, the founder and owner of the Darien Sports Shop, wanted to meet to talk with me about his commercial properties in Darien. David and I went to see Dr. Felder, whose health was beginning to deteriorate, and he basically made his pitch to me. Dr. Felder wanted to know if I'd be interested in acquiring his portfolio of buildings, and he basically said that he and Steve felt that these were important buildings for our downtown, and they wanted to be sure that they ended up in the right hands. The Zangrillo family would continue to own the Darien Sports Shop, and they didn't want someone to do something unattractive or which would have negative impact on the Darien Sports Shop or our community. Further, Dr. Felder said that he thought this was a big project, and he'd been watching our work at 1020 Post Road and what Penny had been doing at Grove Street Plaza and in Tokenique, and he wanted to suggest that we team up to do the project together because he felt it was probably too big for me to take on myself. It's crazy to think that good Dr. Felder knew nothing about the leaf raking or the Pop Shop soda, but he had that brilliant idea. He was wise beyond his 90-something years. So a few days later, after giving it thought and discussing it with my dad, I approached Mrs. G and Ward, and I asked them what they thought of this idea. Penny thought about it and said, yes, let's do it, and that began our partnership. We brought into the joint venture my former boss from Bankers Trust and my mentor in real estate, Dick Gunthal, who's our other partner, as well as Frank Mercedes, who brought us the opportunity to build 1020. And in 2007, we began acquiring the properties that would become our idea for downtown Darien. We thought it would take 3 years to assemble the properties we needed. We were kind of wrong. In real estate, as in life, you never really know what crazy situation lies waiting for you around the corner. In 2008, the great financial crisis struck our country, and we in Darien were in the epicenter of this crisis, given the high percentage of people who live here and work in financial services. It was an extraordinarily scary few years, and many in our business would have pushed pause on the idea. Thanks to Penny and the Glassmeyers' faith in Darien and their belief in the long-term prospects for this place, as well as Dick Gunthal's and ours, we collectively decided to keep moving forward and acquired a number of the properties necessary. Penny's belief in what we were doing was unwavering. In 2008, in one of the bleakest economic moments, Penny separately acquired 1292 Post Road, a dilapidated older building that was situated at the end of the exit 11 ramp on I-95. Working with Bob Cardello, Penny began to develop the idea for what would become the new home of Charles Michael Gallery and a Little Something White bridal salon. It's hard for me to describe how ugly and decrepit the building there was. It was an appliance store for many years that had been vacated, and this was the welcome mat to Darien for people visiting us or for anyone returning home at that exit. It was bad. And I have this vision in my mind. I wasn't in the car, but I think I could see Penny and Ed driving home from a dinner in Stamford, waiting at the light at the end of the ramp, and Penny thinking, I really have to fix this for Darien. But again, and thanks for doing that. But again, when Penny went to zoning with what would have seemed an obviously good idea, she was criticized by the neighbors behind the property who feared that somehow this building would negatively impact their property value. And I could never really understand this. And I talked to Penny many, many mornings after her zoning hearings. She'd come home beaten and down, but unwavering and persistent. She is a force of nature, as you know. And for this effort, she just presented and represented her case for what I think was 2 years. And ultimately, she was able to build the building. And we now have a welcome mat that's appropriate for this great place. So you're going to start to notice a theme here. Upon completing the building, a smart, thoughtful, and well-prepared woman named Ashley Krause approached Penny with an idea. Ashley had just left Goldman Sachs Asset Management, was raising a family in Wilton, and she wanted to start her own business to enable her to work closer to home. After much study of many different businesses, Ashley decided the best opportunity might be to create a high-end bridal salon, and she pitched the idea to Penny. Penny saw the spark in Ashley and committed to her to lease the space, and she built for Ashley the most beautiful bridal salon in this region. Ashley continues to succeed in Darien with her amazing team in business thanks to Penny, giving her a chance. But Penny's contributions to Darien extend far beyond the physical contributions she's made as well in our neighborhoods and in our downtown. After the Glassmeyer's home, the place where the pop shop was and the street hockey, after that home burned down, Penny was so grateful for the work done by our volunteer firefighters that she dedicated herself to the Darien Firefighters Foundation, which she became chairman of. And there again, she enlisted the support of a great team, including Dan Anderson, Kesty Asa, Steve Roney, Rob Minicucci, and others, strengthening this organization to support the great work that our 3 all-volunteer fire departments do. Several members of the Darien firefighters are here with us today. Let's give them a shout out for all of their incredible service to our community. And I'm almost done, so don't worry. But throughout her time living here in Darien, Penny's also contributed significant time and talent to help many other important organizations, such as the Red Cross, Weyburn Country Club, and many, many others. I'll close with a story. I had a coffee this week with one of Darien's top producing real estate agents, and I was telling her about the comments I wanted to share with all of you today. I asked her about a story I heard many, many times from real estate agents in Darien over the years when we first began working to improve downtown Darien. That basically, given the tired and relatively decrepit state of our downtown in the 90s and 80s and 70s, the brokers had all basically worked out a driving tour of Darien that they would use to show families considering moving here. And they would lead these visitors by our schools and our beaches, our library and our beautiful neighborhoods. And they would circumvent downtown. They would actually find ways to kind of get to the office and get to where they wanted to go, but they would never actually drive downtown. They didn't want Darien to look weak compared to the towns with better shopping districts such as Westport, Greenwich, or New Canaan. The agent I was with confirmed this was true for her as well. So I asked her, what does the driving tour look like today? And she said that one of the first stops now on the tour is Grove Street Plaza, this oasis in our community, especially during the scary time we've been braving together while confronting COVID-19. I'm sure you've all seen, on any given day, you see residents of all ages gathering here, supporting each other, having fun or just working. And the thriving businesses of Flour, Water, Salt, Meat, Coffee add character and texture to this plaza. This place is a gift from Penny Glassmeyer, a gift which keeps on giving to our community. Penny Glassmeyer, moving to Darien, I was really trying not to lose it, but I guess I'm going to lose it a little bit up here. Sorry. But Penny Glassmeyer moving to Darien with her husband, Ed, was an unexpected gift to Darien. She has, for nearly 50 years, given to Darien so many gifts that we and those who follow us will experience and enjoy. Importantly, as a result of the lessons that she taught her 5 children, 4 of whom live in Darien or nearby, one of them we're trying to convince to move back. They continue to give their time and talent to so many important causes in Darien, such as the Darien Foundation, the Community Fund of Darien, the Darien Athletic Foundation, and others. Ward, Scott, Shed, Carly, and Emily are also gifts to our community and to each of us. We live in a better town and have a stronger community because of Penny Glassmeyer. Let us take a moment to thank Penny for all of her contributions to the town of Darien. I would now like to turn the program over to Terry Wood, a longtime friend of Penny's and one of our state representatives. Terry was reelected to her 5th term in November 6 of 2016, representing Darien and Norwalk, and Terry's been a tireless advocate for Darien residents and our work in downtown for many years. After Terry speaks, Kip Coons, a member of Darien's Board of Selectmen, will share a proclamation on behalf of Jamie Stevenson, our first selectman. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I'll start by saying I absolutely love Penny Glassmeyer. I've known Penny. I mean, how can you not? You are a force of nature, and it reminds me, hearing what David had remarked and knowing you, it reminds me of that wonderful Maya Angelou quote of, it doesn't matter what someone says, it's how you feel, how you make the people feel, and you do make people feel good about life. And everything you've done here has been, I don't want to overuse a force of nature, but you are, and we're so grateful in so many ways. I see the life, so many, this virus has had challenges, shall we say. And to be able to come here in this plaza and see community and be safe and take part in enjoying each other's company in a way that is safe is joyful. And it provides many of us a sense of community and a sense of sanity. So thank you for your vision, for sticking to it through the frustrations. I didn't know about some of those frustrations. Glad I didn't. There's enough frustration in Hartford. I don't need any more. Anyway, and joys, of course. Anyway, I do have a citation from the state of Connecticut. And it is, in recognition of Penny Glassmeyer, our entire community thanks you deeply for your creativity and commitment to the revitalization of downtown Darien. You've shown how to get a project done with style, grace, and joyful good spirit. Your vision for Darien, oh, that's contagious. Your vision for Darien brings kids, families, and adults together in a positive way that reinforces the joys of our community. You've inspired many and have made Darien a true destination for business owners, town residents, and many others. With gratitude forever to you, Penny, the entire membership of the General Assembly extends its very best wishes on this memorable occasion and expresses Best wishes for continued success on the 12th day of September 2020. So, mwah.
Well, if you like short messages, this will be short. I was just thinking when David talked about the old appliance store at the end of exit 11. David, that was the ultimate after the Oxen Yoke restaurant used to be there. And who could ever forget the Skyline Bar and Grill where Chuck's Steakhouse went? I mean, what a lovely town we had. Thank you, Penny, for making it a lot better. It's very clear. Unlike Penny, my father was not a very good investor in real estate in Darien. Back in the 50s, he built the first California-style restaurant on the East Coast, a drive-in restaurant. It was called The Whistle, right across from the cemetery in Darien. 1 year after he put that restaurant up, I-95 from Stanford to Norwalk was built. All the trucks went by. Guess what happened to the business? So ends our story about real estate investing in Darien. Penny, you've been much better at that than my father was. The proclamation is from Jamie Stevenson, our first selectman, who couldn't be here today, so I'll just read it to you very quickly. Whereas Penelope Merritt Glassmeyer moved to Darien in 1966 with her husband Ed and raised their 5 children in Tokenique. And whereas Penny completed her first building effort, an apartment project in Norwalk in 1979. Over the years, Penny designed and built 13 homes in Darien, 1 in New Canaan, and 8 in Sun Valley, Idaho, all of which have become treasures in their respective towns. Whereas in the late 1990s, at the suggestion of Darien's planning and zoning director, Ray Nurmi, Penny began to focus upon commercial development in the downtown of Darien, her first project being this beautiful place, which we've mentioned so often, Grove Street Plaza. And whereas Penny went on to build 1292 Boston Post Road and to collaborate with Baywater Properties on several other commercial developments and renovations, which have become landmarks in Darien. Whereas thanks to her hard work and the high standards that Penny has set for design and building quality, the downtown of Darien is now the envy of surrounding communities. And whereas while doing her amazing work with buildings in our community, Penny has supported so many individuals who have collaborated with her on her various projects and welcomed input and advice from others to achieve the highest quality end result. And whereas over the course of the last decades, Penny has been a generous donor of time and talent to many important nonprofits and clubs in Darien, such as the Darien Firefighters Foundation, the Red Cross, and the Weber and Country Club. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Stevenson, first selectman of the town of Darien, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby announce and proclaim September 12th, 2020 as Penny Glassmeyer Day in recognition of the many benefits she's done for the community. Congratulations, Penny. Thank you.
I just wanted to. Hello. I couldn't have begun to add to the prior discussion. And I'm so happy to have you, each one of you here. That's the biggest joy, sharing. So lots of love, and let's all support the and I understand that the bakery doesn't have to have any additional support there. They're not going to like hearing that. Okay, I'm going to let everyone go home. But thank you for coming. Oh, I was going to read Chris's.